Hello everyone, my name is Owais. I am an XR creator based in Pakistan, Karachi. I have been in this whole XR space for the past 2 years now. I started at the very beginning of 2020 when the whole world shut down and we were sort of confined in our spaces. That's when I explored this whole beautiful space, and um, I got to know about this whole space, and that's when I joined the whole community. And I was the best part about joining the community was seeing everyone making those effects. And when you see those creative effects and when you see those beautiful things being made, it sort of pushed me to get into this domain and everything. Uh, so I started with that, and then I used to just spend all of my time making some crazy stuff, and there wasn't a lot of tough stuff involved in it overall. You could just make a simple effect and make it live on your profile as well at the same time. Um, there weren't any complicated stuff or testings that sometimes you would face in a development sort of field, but this was sort of so open and welcoming that it was very easy to start with. So that in itself was a very big motivating factor to get into it and just start creating all of this stuff. In doing so, what I was able to learn a lot of these skills, which is 3D, a bit of programming as well, but just the whole logic building process with Spark. That helped a lot in terms of getting started, basically. So I made some of those effects, and within like a month or so, I was able to get some freelance work as well. Not huge gigs, but it was something to start with. And I was like, okay, this is actually, working out for me. And after that, within like 6 months, since I had a decent enough portfolio, I was able to get a job as an AR developer at an agency which is based in UAE. So currently, I work as a remote developer over there. The agency is called Traffic Digital, and I have been there for all around 1.5 years now, almost 2 years basically. Um, so over there, again, my role is that since we are an agency, we get clients. The clients request us to build around campaigns, build around effects, and all of that basically. So that's my journey on the personal level, where I have been like it's not the most brightful one or the exciting one, but the main two highlights are that one, I work in an agency as an XR developer, and obviously there's something which I do full time. This is the only thing that I do, and this is basically my main source of income. And the second highlight is that I did manage to get the certification as well on my very first attempt, which was back in 2021. I will touch base on that a bit later as well, just to sort of get started on that as well. To help, so for people who are just starting right now, they can also apply for that certification, and how that can actually benefit you as well in the long run. But in terms of like making the stuff that I make and running you through the whole process of development, I'll touch base on that right now. So one of the effects that I've made, and which is sort of one of my favorite effects, I would say, it was actually for this competition called the those long nights basically. That was the competition. So this was hosted by Lensless, which is also a very popular partner in this whole AR world of ours. They keep having these competitions and all of this stuff. So the brief was basically how we have how we developers or how we creators spend our long nights basically. And I wanted to sort of create an effect around that idea basically. So I'll share my screen and I'll sort of run through that effect, and then obviously the team over here, they will be able to share the effect as well after this, and you can try it out on my profile as well. But yeah, let me just touch base on that for a second. So if I open the project in Spark, basically, yeah. So as you can see that what it does is it tracks the user's face first of all, as you can see over here, and it's sort of taking the user in this a night owl style of a room basically, and that's why I named the effect as well. It was called night owl basically, and as you can see, it's like this whole room that I was able to create, and the final effect, as you can see, it gives this whole look and feel of like you are in this room, you're developing, and then if I tap on the screen, basically, you're able to see, you get this view of your workspace. And the cool thing I was able to do over here is that I was able to get that Spark AR Studio look and add a real-time camera to the Spark AR viewport, which is this. So if I change, for example, the video simulation over here, you can see that it changes over here. So whoever is using that effect can actually see what's going on over here. So this is one of the most fun projects I did work on, and I wanted to share the tips I was able to use in making this effect, and how you can get around making this effect as well. So to start things off, it's always sort of important to know that whenever you are starting, when you're starting with this whole domain and you're starting in this whole XR and AR space, basically, you need to be good with two things really. One is you need to be good in terms of logic. So when it comes to logic, I'm not necessarily talking about programming over here. It's just logic building, problem solving, understanding a problem, and knowing how to solve it. Basically, that's basically where our patch editor comes in, because some people don't like to program or code something from the very start, and I think that's where Spark AI is very good for other people, where they're able to you just use patches and build the whole effect. So this effect, as you can see, has also been made completely using just patches themselves. I will dive a bit deep into this as well, but essentially, if you are good with logic building, that's good. But the second thing, which is very important, is obviously you just need to have very good 3D skills as well. So having softwares like Blender or Cinema 4D or any of the 3D software which you're comfortable with, having basic 3D knowledge, I feel, is very, very essential and very crucial if you're getting into the space, because making randomized or 2D effects for some point is okay, but in the long run, and if you really want to make this into a career, you really need to know about 3D basically. So first of all, let me just turn off the audio. I hope that's not disturbing too much. But yeah, I'll get to that in a second. So if you were to look at all of this, this was all made in 3D. The software I use is Cinema 4D. That's my software of choice. And what I did was I made this whole mini room basically. And all of these assets aren't actually made by me from scratch. There are many websites where you can get free assets basically. So the website I like to use is called Sketchfab. It's a very popular website where you are able to get royalty free assets as well. So I got all of these assets and I was able to put them all together inside of Cinema 4D, inside of a scene. And what I was able to do then is, since Spark AI is a software which does not have real-time lighting supported inside of it, what I did was I used the method of baked lighting, basically. again, it's a bit technical, but in short, what we are doing is, since the other 3D softwares like Blender or Cinema 4D have that lighting sort of solution where you are able to light the objects, 3D objects in real time. What you're able to do as well in those softwares is you're able to bake them into textures, basically. Um, so what I was able to do was bake everything um, inside of Cinema 4D, and then I was able to import it into Spark, and then just you know add those textures over here. So I get a much better light source over here. So as you can see, this lamp over here, it has that sort of um, reflection look to it, that it's reflecting on the table, and makes it much more realistic and vibrant. So for example, this lamp over here, and then how it's illuminating the wall, and at the same time it's illuminating this bedside, or the SparkAR logo, which has that glow effect in it, which you aren't able to sort of add inside of Spark Studio itself. So again, that's what I'm saying, that essential 3D knowledge, it's very important to have. And when you are sort of when you have that knowledge of 3D, you are able to play around with all of this stuff, which you normally aren't able to beforehand. So that's one thing, which is important to note, and which is why the effect is also quite big. As you can see, it's almost at like 4 megabytes. As you know, we are supposed to stay under the 4 megabytes limit, and this was around 3.6. And as you can see, the major chunk of it is on the texture itself. So if I was to sort of show you as well the texture as an example, basically. So as you can see, this is one of my materials, which is for like the whole room. And if I was to just show the texture, as you can see, it sort of looks like this. So the texture itself, it's quite simple, but all it has is that knowledge. Sorry, all it has is that detail, basically, where it's like able to have all of those details, all of those lights, and all of those reflections, and all of those illuminations, which again just make the whole effect look very good and give it that very nice look and feel. The second important thing about this effect is the 3D model, basically, of the person themselves. So if I were to add some light into the scene, just for this purpose, as I tried, since the effect is basically called night owl, I wanted to keep it like a very dark sort of an effect. But as you can see, I was able to just have an upper part of a 3D model that you can see over here. So it's just basically a person with a hoodie, and that's it. They don't have any legs or anything, because again, you have to play around with sizes and optimization to make the whole thing work. And it's just a basic 3D model with a basic animation, where the person is just typing. So I play it again. As you can see, the person is typing, and they don't really have any face. And what I did was, I then inside of Spark, I brought this 3D model, and I placed the face mesh and attached it with that 3D model, basically. And in doing so, what I did as well was, I took that face tracker information, basically, from that face mesh, and I applied it using some logic, obviously, and I applied it to the whole scene. So my whole scene over here is this right here, and as you can see, it's the rotation of it is kind of linked to the face tracker of the user. So the good thing with this is that it's not limited to just one face. Anyone who is using the effect can be part of this experience. So as you can see again, as you can see, all of this doesn't change. All that's changing is the face of the user, and as you can see, you're then part of that experience in that way, which I felt is quite cool, and gave it a lot of personality. And obviously, everyone can sort of have that night owl experience, which people can relate with as well. So, and then the other functionality I added was simply the tap of the screen. So once I tap on the screen, as you can see, that you have this space. Again, these are all things which were developed inside of Cinema 4D. So this whole monitor screen, and then this small laptop over here, and again the textures over here as well are pretty simple. If I go to the monitor, and as you can see, I just took a screenshot of my computer and literally just added it to the texture of that 3D model inside over there. And if you're wondering about this element which I mentioned about the real-time camera, basically, that's again pretty straightforward as well. All I had to do was, since it's UV mapped, the texture of that monitor, I was just able to place a normal plane, your normal rectangular plane that you have inside of Spark, and I was just able to use the camera texture, which is again accessible to us inside of Spark. So if I just go to it quickly as well, just to touch base on it just a little bit as well, yeah. So if I go to the monitors, so this is our monitor screen one, and it has this is the texture of it, as you can see. But as an addition, what I did to it, as you can see over here, was I added this plane basically. And inside of this plane, what I was able to do, I was able to add this camera texture. And if I come to the patches and touch base on it a bit, it's basically nothing. All I have done is I have added this camera texture, which again is accessible to us inside of Spark AR Studio. And what we are it's obviously not clear. It's in itself basically an effect. So which is why it has a basic LUT, and then it's using all of that and then showing that. So it's not a clear image, it's an effect basically, because that was the idea, that's the effect I'm working on, and that's the preview screen you're sort of seeing in real time. So yeah, like that's, I think, the technical bits of all of this, because other than that, it's the magic of 3D, and it's the magic of textures and baking textures basically. So yeah, that's essentially the effect in general, and this was something like I was quite happy with as a personal project of mine. And I really wanted to sort of touch base on this and explain it a bit in detail, because a lot of people, when they're making effects, they don't look at these side of things, especially the new developers and the new creators basically. So I would definitely recommend that once you're starting out, first of all, start with 3D. Start learning some basic stuffs, like how to make a basic 3D model. I believe everyone at this point in time is familiar with the Blender Guru and their donut series basically. If you're not, just go on YouTube and search Blender donut series, how to make a donut. You can start with that, and the first effect you can make is just a donut basically. You can place that donut on the user's face or anywhere inside of the scene, and that should be your starting point. So it should be a starting point inside of the whole 3D world, and it should be a starting point with Spark AR as well, I feel. Once you're sort of familiar with 3D and you're good with your 3D skills, that's when your effects start looking great, and they start looking better at that point as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this effect. And as a final thing, just to have it much more aesthetic and much more have it much more life to it, basically, I added this loop aesthetic song, those lo-fi songs basically. And again, the logic of that is pretty simple and straightforward. All I'm doing is just using a clip controller and then adding it to the speaker basically. So it's just looping in the background just to sort of give much more life to the effect, and to the theme as well, which is Night Owl. And as a small Easter egg, all I did over here as well, if you're wondering about these three frames over here, this is basically, I tried to recreate my room, if you hadn't guessed already. And what I added as a little Easter egg was basically three of my other favorite effects, which are again available on my profile. So these are like snapshots of them, and I added some frames of them. So if you were to sort of look at them as well, you can get that as a little Easter egg basically on the top of my bed. But yeah, essentially that's really it in terms of me sharing about this effect. And I hope like seeing this whole project inside of Spark and me learning a bit in depth into it helped you get an essential sense of how these affects. Where you're wondering that, oh, how are you able to achieve all of this, inside of Spark, which is so limited under, which is under the 4 MB limit and all of that stuff. So again, if you have to take anything from this project, it's just texture baking, how it can give your effect a better look and feel rather than that weird 3D look which you're able to, which you think that it's not doing good. Texture baking really helps. It's obviously you have to bear in mind the whole size aspect of things, but once you play around with it, you can get around with it. I mean, I was able to do this in 3.6, so that should be enough in terms of you pulling it off as well. So now I would just like to touch just a little bit on the certification. I'll just stop sharing my screen. In terms of the certification and how I was able to do it on my first attempt, basically was because this question was asked a lot in the community as well, that a lot of people weren't able to sort of um, pass it on their first attempt. In my opinion, it wasn't really that hard. I think the because again, I like I said at the very start, there are two important things. One is your logic. How good are you in your logic building skills, and two is your basically 3D and design skills. And some of the questions inside of that whole exam were regarding clients and a bit about how you would deal in those situations. Now, since I was working in an agency and I had that experience of working with clients and working with requests and everything, I had a better idea of answering those questions. So that helped me sort of have an upper hand. But I feel that you can sort of get around with that as well. So my best tip would be that Spark themselves have provided courses. They have courses for preparation for that test, basically. And what you can do is you can go on their website and search about those courses. And I would recommend everyone to do those courses first. At the same time, once you have done those courses, you have a test, basically a practice test on their website as well, which you can attend, and you can see what type of questions you're going to get. But essentially, again, my suggestion is that if you're good with logic building, again, if your problem solving abilities are good and your logic building is good, you shouldn't have a problem. Now, how can you actually improve your logic building skills? The best advice I can give is just by practicing a lot. The way you can, I wouldn't suggest going on online and just reading documentations and doing that. The best advice I can give is practice as much as you can inside of Spark itself. So for example, try and make different effects where you're having to use the patch editor as much as you can. So follow tutorials if you're not comfortable at the very start. Follow some tutorials, basically. There are a lot of tutorials on YouTube. Make those effects. Make a randomized effect where it's what type of a Disney character are you, or make a very high-fi world air effect or something like this, like I just showed you. This will help you explore SparkAR more and help you explore the in-depth of SparkAR. And once you do that, your logic building will get very good. The advantage I had was because I had that much experience, my logic building was very good. So I was able to understand the in-depth of it. And other than that, the SparkAR course also really helped in terms of practicing for stuff which I wasn't good at. So the thing I'm not still very good at is, for example, programming. You can make full effects using programming, which I am able to do, but I'm not able to make full-fledged effects solely on programming. So, and again, don't worry about it. It's not like the test is majorly based on programming, but if you want to be certified and if you want to call yourself a certified developer, obviously, you need to know the software as a whole, basically. So yeah, that's essentially it. Just follow that course. play around with Spark AI as much as you can. Play around with 3D, especially with 3D basic knowledge. What are 3D models? What are materials? What are textures? How can we optimize 3D models? And again, Spark AI has done a very good job in terms of their documentation. Now, why am I urging everyone to sort of take the test seriously and go for that certification? The thing is, it will help you a lot if you want to pursue this as a career. Once I did get my certification, I was able to use that and get new clients basically. I was able to stand out from the crowd basically, and my personal path basically. So, if I'm not working, I like to do some freelance work, I like to do some personal work, So, in that aspect of things, it helped me a lot. If I wasn't getting a client before, if my portfolio wasn't standing out, the one thing that was definitely standing out was my certification basically. So join the community first of all, the Spark AI community basically, and over there there are a lot of people and a lot of resources over there that can help you get started with the Spark AI certification basically. And once you sort of start, that community will help you get started and get started with the certification. The one thing that you shouldn't be scared about is it's failing. Give the certification, and if you fail, that's completely fine. That's not an issue, but you have a very high percent chance of passing that as well. So don't worry about it. And again, I was able to do it with like very minimal experience. I had like in years of experience by that point. So if I can do it within a 1 year period, you can do it within like 3 to 4 months as well. I don't see why you can't basically. So I would definitely recommend as a starter, if you're a beginner, do pursue that certification. Don't let it overwhelm you. But before that, the basic steps. Learn about 3D. Get to know about 3D. You know what 3D is, because essentially this is what AR is for us. AR is basically a mix of 3D plus development. So you can't be solely a full-fledged developer but not know about 3D. So as a starting point, as a beginner, learn about 3D. Like I said, start with Blender. It's a free software. There are a bunch of tutorials on YouTube about it as well. Start with that, and once you're done with that, you can then move on to the complicated stuff, which is programming, shaders, and all of that stuff. But I feel that the essential part that brings it all together is 3D essentially. So that's how you can get started. And again, the Spark community is such a beautiful community. It's such a diverse community that people love to share their stuff over there as well. And if you have any problems at all, and if you're facing any problems at all, you can just post your query over there, and you get replies within seconds basically. So it's very welcoming, it's very helpful, and a lot of the stuff that I have learned of Spark itself is through the community, and it's obviously you learn a lot of stuff alone as well by trial and error, but a lot of the stuff I was able to learn was through professionals over there as well, because they're amazing creators, and also what it does is it helps motivate you as well. When you see other people making those effects, you get that motivating boost that okay, someone made this, someone made that. It helps keep you motivated and make you want to try new stuff basically. So yeah, it's this is a great time to sort of jump into this whole field, and it's still very new. There's still a lot of space over here. It's not that oversaturated, so you're more welcome. And so that was essentially my journey so far. I'm very much excited about the future, and diving into the other areas, which is, obviously we all are familiar with the whole metaverse hype around us and everything. So this is, I feel, getting into AR essentially and just starting with this software. It's a very good stepping stone and helping you step into that world as well, basically. And other than that, the team over here, I believe, will provide all of my details. My Instagram, my socials are the same. It's Owais Iqbal. That's my name. You can follow me over there. DM me or anything really. reach me out on LinkedIn. I am more than happy to help anyone if it's anything regarding to this field at all. And do try out the night out effect as well, because I feel that now that you have seen the working behind it, and now when you're able to use it on your Instagram profile, it will definitely help you sort of get a general idea of how that looks, but you will have it on the back in the back of your mind that, oh, this is how everything was made. So it would be quite interesting. But yeah, that's pretty much it from mine. Again, reach out to me on my socials or on my LinkedIn if there's anything I can help you with. And yeah, best of luck.